One thing that I'm always asked by everyone, no matter who it is, like what kind of interpersonal relationship I have, is, do you want to know more about your biological parents? It's the number one thing I'm always asked whenever they find out I'm adopted. A lot of people don't know I'm adopted either, which is really weird, and they get really surprised, which I'm like, oh, it's obvious, like how do you not know? But yeah, I'm pretty open about it, and like the number one response that I always get for it is, don't you want to know? And I just tell them, like, I've never really been interested in finding anything else out. Now, my last relationship, my girlfriend did want me to find out more for medical reasons, but that was mainly the only reason why, because she understood that I didn't want to know more about it.
I stay in touch with my mom, my paternal grandmother, my dad, my siblings, and like my cousins on my dad's side. I don't actually get to see my mom right now. She lives in a different state, but I do talk to her on the phone every so often.
I have a difficult time around the holidays, especially Christmas, because when I was 13 years old, 7 days before Christmas, my biological mother signed away her rights to me, and by the time it would have been completely put into effect, it would have been on Christmas Day.
Christmas is it's a little bit not as happy as it could be time for Zach, you know, just because of what happened at that point.
I remember my latter years of like my teen years, so like when I was 18, 17, 16, I had a lot of resentment towards my biological mother. But it took me a while to realize that when she put me up for adoption, she didn't do it out of spite or like to save herself. She did it ultimately to give me a chance to have like an actual childhood for like the rest of my like teen years. And it took me a while to realize that. And then during that time, I was just like, she had tried to contact me and I was not having it. I was like, I don't want to speak to her.
She also writes me letters and stuff, and we like to color in coloring pages, and we've sent them to each other in the mail. I do think I have a good relationship with my mom.
When I was 19, my biological mother had called my adoptive grandma on her landline. I don't know how she got her number, but she did. And she was just asking for just one last conversation with me on the phone. Even though she has done a lot of wrong, she has tried to make it up to me, and she did put me up for adoption. That was the best thing she could have ever done for me. But it took me a while to realize that, and when I did, I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt and to talk to her and see how she's doing and to thank her for ultimately like making my life better, because if she never put me up for adoption, Dave and Joel would have never adopted me. So I wanted to just repay that generosity just with that phone call. And I remember her telling me the truth about why my dad had left. I have some very light contact with her. She sends me letters every now and then, and I'll send one back.
When I got divorced, I got kind of paranoid about things. And I started thinking about my boys not knowing that they had a brother. And I put myself in their place and I said, if my mom had died and had never told me that she had another child, how would I feel? And I said, I would have been angry. And one of my sons is a lot like me, and I thought he would be too. So I sat down with them and I told both of them. They were all excited about it. I mean, they weren't condescending, they weren't shocked. And so I decided really for them to see if I could find James. So I went to the adoption agency where he had been adopted from, and they had a girl that worked with reuniting birth parents with birth children, and she told me the process, and the process was in Michigan because it was there. They have like an adoption registry, and both the birth parent and the adoptee have to sign up for this registry before you can be reunited. So I had to sign up with the registry, and in the meantime, the girl who was trying to find him did locate him. And she called the house and left a message on my answering machine. And I called her back, and she said the words that I'll never forget. She said, "I talked to your son today." And that was really the only thing that I needed to know in the whole world. The rest of it was icing on the cake.
I think I've always asked questions, since they were always very candid about it. I've always naturally had questions about, well, why, or what happened, or, why did you guys want me, and all those sort of questions that I think it would be pretty natural for someone my age to ask.
Growing up, my parents were always encouraging about whether I wanted to find them or learn more about them, but I think they kind of stopped after a while whenever I was in my around 10 or so, because I guess I got kind of fed up with it in a sense, because when I was younger I was like, oh, I don't want to know, like, stop asking me, basically. So they kind of stopped. I was like, you guys are my parents. I was like, I don't want to know anything else, so stop, basically.
Those kind of questions stopped around that age, 8, 9, and 10. I think I realized that there was probably no, point, in my opinion, on, pursuing those questions, because they didn't really have answers.
I've encouraged Jaidyn to ask her birth mom anything she wants to. And her birth mom has also encouraged that and said, if you ever want to talk to me or ask questions about anything, please do. But she hasn't really wanted to. I think she is curious about her birth father. She told me she didn't want to meet him, but she'd like to just see a picture of him. Just wants to see what he looks like.
And now that she's getting to this age, I think she maybe will have more questions, about things, and need that one-on-one that Jody can give her.
I don't really know that much about my biological father, but I'm sure my biological mother would tell me if I asked. I've just always liked to keep him kind of like a mystery.
Whenever she gets older, if she decides that she wants to, contact me more than what is now, that's completely up to her. I'm leaving that up to her.
I don't know, I've always felt it better that way, because I can just imagine him however I want.
I'm curious in the sense about how they look, mainly to see, about, how I look, and like if I actually look like a mix between the two of them, or if I favor one or the other. So I'm curious in that sense.
My biological dad left when he found out that my biological mom was pregnant with me. And I never met him.
My grandmother, I see her maybe 4 times a month. We go out to eat most of the time, or she comes over to our house and we sit at the table and talk. My grandma takes me to see my dad sometimes in the prison. It's not his first time being in prison, but it's definitely going to be his last. He's really got himself together right now, and every time I talk to him, he gives me advice and makes sure I'm doing the right thing.
I remember I didn't really care that he left. I didn't care why he left. I didn't really care at all. He was just like a name to me. He wasn't like in my life. He wasn't a person in my life. So I didn't really give it a whole lot of surface value to it.
My dad tells me about him being on work release. He goes and works in this Hyson chicken factory. He did train dogs. He still gets to like help with the dog training and stuff. He's really good at it. but he's not officially like doing that job in the prison. I have a pretty close relationship with my dad right now.
He was generous enough to give me a picture of him for my 18th birthday, or around like when I was 18, I got to see a picture of my biological dad for the first time. So it was weird because like I look a lot like him, but like I know that's not truly like my dad. Like he may be biological, but he was never truly there. Like he wasn't there. So it was weird seeing his face because I do look like a spitting image of my biological father. So it's just weird to see like who he actually is, you know? Yeah, since he wasn't ever there.
Somehow in the conversation that we were talking about, the social worker said he would not be a threat to me. And I said, well, how do you know that? And she said, because of his profession, which she should never have said. And she realized the minute she said it, what she had said. I talked to the guy I was dating at the time, and I said, is he a doctor? Well, no, that wouldn't have anything to do with threatening somebody. Or a lawyer? No, it wouldn't be that either. So it just hit us. I said, he's a minister. She told me a little bit more information because he still had not said it was okay to, do. But she did tell me enough information that I found his church on the internet. And it was so hard. There was a little button down there that said, email the pastor. And it was so hard for me not to hit that button and email him. There were no pictures, though. That was frustrating. There was no pictures of him or anything.
I think I wondered about where my, birth parents were for a little while. It was always sort of in my head until about a certain age. I think my parents told me that my orphanage is shut down, and obviously there has been, I really knew it wasn't realistic for me to ever find them, nor I didn't think I wanted to. So I kind of just stopped thinking about it. I think it was probably a bit too hard, of a topic to think about for too long, certainly. I'm a pretty sensitive person, and I didn't really want to think about that kind of stuff for too long.
I don't know if it's like terrible that I feel this way, but like I don't feel any resentment, or I just don't think about him like he's not really any significance like in my life at all. So there's like no feelings towards him, negative or positive. It's just kind of neutral.
My birth son called one day, and we were just chatting, and he all of a sudden he says, I find it so hard to talk to you. And I said, why? And he said, well, I don't know. He said, I think it's your accent, because he had thought that I was from up there, but since he was born in Michigan. And it was just really funny. And I mean, it made me feel funny because I thought, well, I can't change the way I talk. So anyway, he called back about a week later. They had had a baby. And of course, this was my first grandchild. In the meantime, we arranged a meeting.
I think that's probably a scary thing for adoptees. They have a vision of these people in their minds. And so like baby steps, like let me see the picture. Let me know his name. Let me know who he was. Now I want to meet him. So maybe a step process is an easier way to do that. But she's never really expressed a great desire to ask Jody anything about that I know of. But it's there for her. The information's there for her if she wants it. So
I think it's partially because I'm afraid of who he would actually be, but in real life. But I also, I think there'll be a time when I want to figure out who he is and more about him, and I don't think that's just that time yet.
I think there is a fear for that. That's a big can of worms right there, because I don't know how they're living, how, whether they're, you know, what kind of people they are. You know, they haven't been around for 23 years. Obviously, I haven't wanted to know anything else, but I don't want them to be the type of people that I don't like, and I'm worried that I'll find that out and they'll be those people that I don't like. And I want to have this glorified image of them, I guess, in a sense.
Although the mystery of my biological dad is still there, I've never really felt like it's a void that I need to fill immediately, although I've been curious.
I had not talked to James's father, birth father, in 30 years. And I decided I'd see if I could find him on the internet. We had a real odd last name, and I could not remember how it was spelled. And he asked me later, how could you forget? I said, I put a lot of stuff on the back burner, and one of them was how to spell your last name, you know. Anyway, I finally did look it up, and there it was, and I knew it was him. So I called him that night, and there was an answering machine. So I called back and I left a message, and I just sat there sweating. I thought, I'll know one way or another. Well, about 15 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was him. And we had a real long conversation about the circumstances and everything. And after James was born, I wrote a note, and I sent it to his parents' address, thinking they would forward it. No, that's not what happened. His mother opened the note and read the note. And all I said was, in the note I said, I had your baby today, too bad you'll never see it. You know, just real sarcastic, because I wanted him to know that I'd had the baby, that I hadn't had an abortion. Because he'd sent me money, and I assumed that's what he wanted me to do with it. Well, his mother called him and got him out of class at school, and told him, read the note to him, which he quoted back to me word for word. All those years, he had wondered, you know. They were Catholic, and apparently it's a big disgrace in the Catholic Church to have a child out of wedlock. And his mother said, I'm never going to share this with anybody else listening. And she tore it up. And he could hear her tear the note up, but he never forgot. And he never had any other children. And so we were reunited also. So we met James together, which probably was not a good idea, because there's probably things that I would have liked to have said or done or whatever that you couldn't do.
I feel like as I've grown as a person, particularly in my teenage years, I feel like the idea that there might be another family out there, maybe, it feels so fictitious to me. It doesn't almost feel real, you know? Even if I wanted to find my birth parents, which I don't want to, there wouldn't be a way to. You know, there's absolutely no records. The orphanage is closed, and I came from a very small part. You can't even find it on Google Maps. There was a certain point in my life where I thought, okay, this is it, so I might as well enjoy this, live in the present, and don't have any regrets. And I like to think that I've stuck by that pretty well.
I think that when the time's right, she'll know how to navigate the resources that she has to navigate the issues that are painful and difficult. I think that's my prayer as a mother, because it must feel hard to discuss things about your birth mother or father to your adoptive mom and dad. And that might feel pretty scary, or might bring along guilt or feelings of betrayal. So I hope that when and if those come up, that she'll have what she needs.
I've never done it because I never wanted to hurt their feelings, so that's the reason I've never asked them before. I always consider everyone's feelings over mine most of the time. So I try to make sure everybody's happy. I'm a people pleaser, basically. So I guess I've been like that from a very young age too. So I've never wanted to upset my parents by asking them that.
My goal is always to sit with parents in their truth and to sit with adopted children in their truth and help them discover their truth. And if part of that is that one or both want to search for a parent, I want to support that. I want to absolutely and fully support that. When a child is interested in finding a birth parent and the adoptive parent is struggling, I know where my work is. My work is always with the adoptive parent. It's natural, it's normal to want to know where we come from. And the fear of many adoptive parents in supporting their child, in understanding their history, their belongingness, their creation, their identity, that fear often compels children to fight for it even more. And so if they already have an interest, why not support that interest? Why not support them? This is where I go back to, if we don't understand our purpose at the deepest level, we lose direction. If my purpose is to love my child fully into becoming the best version of my child, and my child believes that in order to be the best version of herself, she needs to know her biological mother, then my job is to help her find her biological mother. But if I'm not clear about that purpose, and now my purpose is to secure and contain my family and never lose my child, then I will be compelled to live in fear around the potential that my child might meet her biological mother. I think a beautiful story about how when we surrender to true love for another human being, we would never get in the way of them becoming the very best version of themselves. And we don't always know what that is for someone else. So to support that and honor that, I think, is really important for our adopted children.
I guess one of the ways that I've coped with my birth parents not being in my life, you know, like for a while I was like, what if they're alive? But I never really was interested in seeing them. It was just a what if they're alive. And then somewhere along the lines, the what if they're alive turned into, well, they could already be dead. And I don't really know where that comes from. So maybe it was just easier for me to think of them as dead. I really don't know.
If I were to be contacted by either of my birth parents, I wouldn't reject the fact of talking to them. I guess it would kind of, I don't know how it would make me feel. It's not that I wouldn't talk to them or I'd reject them or anything like that, because I do have that lingering curiosity in the back of my mind about them. And I guess it would be a lot easier for me too, the fact that I do know that I've been adopted for my entire life. So I would talk to them. I've actually thought about that situation too, especially with something like Facebook and all that. If they've tried, you know, if they tried to add me and like maybe talk to me or anything like that, and I'd welcome it if they tried to contact me.
Dave and I met first. We met at this hotel, and he drove up, and I said, "Is that him, Dave? Is that him?" You know, and he said, "I don't know." I got up and I just ran across the lobby and grabbed him. And I said, "If you're not James, I'm in big trouble." And he said, "Yeah, that's me." And he was, they were dressed just alike. I couldn't believe it. They both had on denim shirts and khaki pants. And I said, "This is just unreal." The adoption agency did ask me what kind of family I wanted in place with, and they honored that, and I was very pleased about that, because you wonder. We had one of the waitresses there at the restaurant take some pictures, and she said, "This looks like a reunion of some kind," and we said, "You just don't know." You know, yes, it is, you know. We were reunited the day after James' 30th birthday. James and his wife invited me to their home for the weekend, and I went to church, and he introduced me to his church. And he sang a song during his sermon, which he said he didn't normally do, but I had asked him to sing. I wanted to hear him sing.
I'm personally thankful that she's musically talented because I love music as well.
The song I'm going to play is an original song called All For You. I think it's time for me to kiss my broken heart goodbye. I can't start the pains and baby go on.
I have been singing since I was probably 6 years old. I took voice lessons, I was in recitals, I grew up in church singing most of my life.
And I've commented a lot of times that her personality is a lot like Jody. I mean, obviously she's being raised, you know, in a different environment, but I think just maybe genetically her characteristics are a lot like Jody.
Both of us are coming from the same place and wanting to, we're committed to the Lord, and we try and honor God in our, you know, our relationships with each other. And I think coming from that place has been very helpful because it's kept us both grounded in keeping God first in it. Mm-hmm. And that's led us both in the right direction.
It's been a blessing to have an open adoption with them. I think that, you know, that might not be the case for everyone. I know I've heard stories of it being hard, but our story is so good. And I don't know why or how, but it's just been such a blessing.
So the church I go to is Holy Cross Episcopal Church. I've been going there since I was born, since I can remember. And it's a really great place. It's supportive, and there's so many nice people there. And they've helped me through a lot, through school fundraisers, through growing in my faith, and I really feel at home there.
I think when you put God in the picture and you just allow Him to take control and guide you in that decision, then it'll be the best decision because God is guiding you in that.
When you give a child up for adoption, there's always a hole there. And when I met James, well, Ann was reunited with Dave. It did fill that hole, mostly.
I also remember when my biological mom got remarried, I got to participate in the wedding.
I gave Jaidyn the job of handing out programs at my wedding.
And that was really a sweet experience for me.
It was like a no-brainer to have them at our wedding because I wanted her to be a part of it, and Jim and ALICIA as well.
Right before my birth mom got married, I was a little sad because I thought that her getting a new husband, she wouldn't care about me as much and like be more occupied and not have time, but it hasn't changed at all, and he's a wonderful person. And so though I had fears about that, they're completely gone now.
We kept in touch by phone mostly through the years. I don't know, I've sent him a couple of texts, and I sent him a picture of one of my young grandchildren that I think looks a lot like his youngest son. And I said, don't you think they look alike? No, not a word. I did call him last year on his birthday, a year ago. And I came right out and asked him, I said, are you upset about something? And he said, no. That was kind of all. And so I'm just kind of thinking, well, I'm leaving it up to him, because for some reason, he's not wanting a relationship right now. So it kind of makes me sad, but legally I have no reason for him to have to talk to me or, you know, anything else. And I've kind of come to terms with it. And it's just kind of like, oh, well, you know, it's up to him. I've tried to come out. I've tried to do things, and it just, I don't get any response. So I'm not going to torture myself anymore.
Even though both my families are extremely different, I'm really glad I get to see both of them and be a part of both of them.
I'm really glad that my parents have a good relationship with my birth family, and it's wonderful. They're always saying how grateful they are for each other, and I'm so glad that I've brought them together.
This whole experience with the child and everything, the pregnancy, the hiding the pregnancy, then having the baby, and then coming home and still having to hide. I feel like it changes your feelings about things for the rest of your life.
It's been a blessing for them to watch her grow up and be in her life and be assured that she has loving parents that are caring for her. It's been a blessing for us to have her know, like I can say things like, you have your mom's smile, or you have her cute nose, or you have her beautiful voice. That's been a blessing to her and to us, and I think it's just helped us all heal and be whole, really.
The church that we go to is very welcoming. They have never, golly day, they've asked us to speak, and so it's just really good. We've went through a couple of different pastors now, and each pastor comes in, they want to know about us, they want to know what's going on with us.
So in the summertime, the ministers in training or the seminarians come in. I didn't say that word right. I'll start over on that one.
It's a seminary student.
Okay. You want to tell the story, and I'll just, since I can't say it.
It's a Methodist church. We weren't 100% sure, you know, how they felt about us. I think as a local branch, they're very welcoming, very understanding. That being said, we take our kids to church if they want to go to church, but we've never made them go to church. ZAK had a very bad experience at a church that he used to go to, so we're never going to force religion on him. We're going to let them come to their own terms. We do take our little guys to church with us, and they're flourishing. They love it. It's nice to have that welcoming spirit. Religion was always a big part of my life. That's why when I come out as gay, I was like, well, okay, so I'm not going to have kids and I'm not going to have God, and now I'm not going to have my family. So I was able to, you know, so I was compartmentalizing all of these different things, and it's so nice now to be able to live open and live my truth and to find that, you know, yes, I can worship God, and yes, I do have my family, and yes, I can love who I want to love. So that's been a very, very great thing.
Jaidyn is awesome, and I relate that to ALICIA being her mother. Even Jim, you know, I want to give him credit, but I think the environment has made her to be this wonderful girl that has allowed her just to grow and flourish.
She's very grounded. I think for a 14-year-old, she's very balanced, very respectful. She's very loving, always very sweet. She's been raised in a home that encouraged more reading, you know, and doing family things together, playing outside. And
she gets to go climbing and hiking and be outdoors and travel, and I don't think she would have done that.
We wouldn't have focused on those kind of things as much, but had she been with us, her environment would have been different. She still would have been the sweet Jaidyn, you know, I'm sure. But it's just that she's been exposed to different things that, you know, has made her who she is. You know, she's very talented. She has instrument that she plays.
She knows more than one instrument. I think she's like on 3 or 4 now.
And she plays soccer. She's exposed to so many things. She loves horses, and because of her reading, you know, reading can open up a whole world, you know, to somebody. So she's very knowledgeable.
And that's because Alicia and Jim have created that environment
And they
for her
encouraged it,
and
yeah.
encouraged it to grow and learn. And so I'm very thankful that they have just created that space for her to have the freedom to kind of try out different things and see what she likes. And you know, she's already talking about what she wants to do when she gets older, and she just has so many dreams. And so it's just a joy for me to see her grow up and see the woman that she's becoming. I couldn't ask for anything better for her to grow up in.
Think it's time